Welcome everybody to the Event Ensemble Spotlight, where today we are celebrating with an amazing, talented wedding planner, Adrienne Andrews, celebrating 35 years as an event professional, as a wedding planner for weddings, an event planner for social, birthdays, mitzvahs, holiday, corporate, you name it. She is the magic that makes it happen. Celebrating 20 years cancer-free. Bless your heart. Congratulations on that. And still finding a reason and a way to help people across the United States celebrate. You're a Texas girl.
Yeah, Texas by way of Louisiana on top of all of that.
That's why you were telling me about that you were absolutely going to celebrate New Year's Eve. I knew that there was a Louisiana Mardi Gras thing going on here.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you for having me. So yeah, that started young with that celebration down in Louisiana, that's for sure. And it just continued as life went on. So but I do love
Louisiana
a
first,
good event.
Louisiana first, and then Texas?
Yes, yes. Born and raised in Louisiana, a little small city called Lake Charles, Louisiana, which is 3 hours east of New Orleans. But once you're down in the southern part of Louisiana, it's good food, good times. Les bon temps roulette.
There it is. I was just about to say it, and you got it. Let the good times roll. Absolutely. And you bring that whole party atmosphere to Arizona for your clients, don't you?
I do. I love it. Like I said, it seems as though as I was really kicking off, COVID decided to interrupt. But I did have the pleasure of working with several companies and helping them do charitable things, which has really become very near and dear to me. Working with charities, I believe that if much is given, much should be returned to the community. So I enjoy working with charities like Hope Crossing. I love working with my organization, which is Top Ladies, which we service the senior communities and teens. So that's our big item. So even though I might not be doing planning, I do enjoy giving back and giving them a little edge up instead of just a normal plastic linen. I like to take it up a notch. And I've had the pleasure of also really something I loved, which was my organization, Top Ladies. I created a wine tour or did a wine tour from them from planning to inception all the way through the day of. And they really enjoyed it. And we had 3 up in Sedona. So I did my scouting, I did everything that I love to do. And I had a great team that was wrapped around me from Top Ladies. So it was something that now we were all ready to make it a second every year event. But COVID came in, but don't worry, I'm planning a doozy for when we can get back on.
It sounds fabulous. And poof, the glasses are gone and the smile is on. And we are ready to continue with the conversation with Adrienne. What is the most outlandish, extravagant, crazy, sentimental, whatever? What is your favorite event that you've done?
That is such an easy answer. I hate to say it, it's 2, but really the very first one was in, believe it or not, 1998. I had a client that I met at a bridal show. So it does happen, people. And she was one demanding. You could tell that immediately. And I was like, okay, I can do this. And just so happened when I met her, I had just come from special event, the international special event out of Las Vegas. So I came there with a lot of new tools. And the mother told me, she said, this is what I want, da, 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 da. I said, we can make that happen, but let's make an appointment. And we did. And she says, sold. So I was like, okay, that's great. Then we got into details. This is one that I really, and she was not the first, but this was one that I had got, I had found all the vendors that she needed because she gave me carte blanche to do that. I gave brief intros to her for each vendor, but she was one of about 5 or 6 of my clients that I did that Saturday morning brunch. And we brought in all the vendors that she was finishing hiring because she had already given a deposit, but we were doing contracts that day. And everybody brought in a sample of their project or sample of their products for what they were doing for her. The linen person brought in the linen, set up the table, the flowers. Just so happened his company was a full service company, so it was great. The photographer was there. The videographer was there. The cake person brought in their cake to give a sample. It was all done. We did it within about an hour and a half, and all contracts were signed. And she was quite impressed with the fact that we all sat there with her and let her just bombard us. So she was the most extravagant because it was 500 guests. The most demanding that she had of everything, and everything was definitely, you had to be on the head with her, was when we got to the caterer, because we had that wedding in the Wortham Theater in Houston. And that is where the opera, HGO, the Houston Grand Opera, is held every year. And we took over that complete lobby. We had 500 guests, and her mandatory thing was all food must be served same time. No exceptions.
Are we talking synchronized service?
There we go. Yeah.
Very, very elegant. Very
and
nice.
It was great. It was really great. She became my favorite client, and she also became the client that I really almost never had to search for another client again because of her.
we love people who enjoy what we do and tell all their friends and invite us back to do it again.
Right.
It is complimentary, and what a treat. I have to, in terms of compliments, tell you that of the many, many planners that I've worked with, and I've been doing this since 1980, I have worked with many planners, but I can only name maybe 3 that actually do what you just described, and you being one of the 3, because so often the cake tasting is with the cake, and the catering does their own tasting. I mean, everybody is separated and nobody has any idea as to what any of the other parts are doing. That a planner would come in and say, let's meet where the event is going to be. You bring your samples with you. The client is there. And now we're all going to coordinate together. I mean, it's unheard of. And I understand that there's probably an expense involved and obviously a time, but what a difference it makes. Often when I say we're going to have the introduction and they're going to come in this door because the venue says that's the door they always come in. Well, but now the photographer's there and they say, well, at 3 o'clock, the sun's going to be coming right in the window of that door. Why don't we have them come in over at this other space where there's foliage and there's no sun? Right. And all of a sudden everybody goes, well, we never would have known that unless we'd had this group meeting. So just hats off and feather in your hat and all of that. It's the way to be done. And it's so extraordinarily rare.
And for us, that was something that my husband that passed worked for AT&T. He was like one of the better salesmen of AT&T and a New Yorker. So put it together. And when I started the business, I was talking about my very first client, and he was the one that suggested, he said, if I can do it for mobile, you can do it for weddings to infinity.
There you go.
And that's how that got started. And normally I would have it at a hotel and have a real brunch. And then later on, the team would then go to the facility and we'd all make sure we're all on the same page before they got my small booklet
wow.
about what to do.
Wow. Sounds like a big book. So let's back up here for a second.
Okay.
Why would anyone want to spend their hard-earned money on a planner?
That is definitely something, even sometimes I don't know how to answer it. But for me, when I talk to my clients, I said, I want you to, long ago, I had a caterer that had this motto: I want you to be a guest at your own event. Mm-hmm. And it made so much sense to me to try to keep them expressing that, because as a planner, you become a mediator as well between mother, daughter, fiancés. I used to love the fiancés would talk to me and I was planning and they looked at me and said, but what about my needs? So you become everything. And for me, I tell them it will take stress. It will take years off of you planning and not sometimes going to me first. And I love to pre-plan before I go to them. Knowing to get the right vendors, to get what you need, not necessarily what you aspire to be in a wedding. Because a lot of my clients used to come with me with, I want all of this. Do you really need all of this? And I know I shouldn't be downselling, but you know, the next thing I said, well, let's go over your budget. Get it?
This is a first. I have done many of these event ensemble EE spotlights, but I have never been so lucky to make the phone ring 3 times that we've had to stop and go. I'm obviously your good luck charm for business.
Perfect.
But no doubt about it. Back to the conversation. Let's talk about the budget and what your needs are. And a good planner is not just they're there on the day of, but there's so much more that happens prior that a good planner can save the day, not just the day of, but all the days prior that lead up to that moment that is, wow.
Right. And that's something that every planner should be mainly concerned about to me. Go ahead, after you meet your client, try to do your very best to get their budget so that as you search for them, if you have to search, because some bring their vendors with them, but then some don't have anything. But try to get their budget so that you can give them what they want for their pocket. And as someone else told me, don't ever spend your clients, spend money from your pocket for them. That's another mistake that a planner can make. You're thinking, my pocket, that's going to be too expensive. You don't know what that client brings. You can never tell. So I would say budgeting is so important. And you're right. Day of to me is very hard, because to me, there is no such thing as day of, because it's always pre-planning. So you can't, for me personally, I can't walk in and say, this is going to happen on the rehearsal. I need to know what's going to happen. Who's your DJ? Who's your photographer? What philosophy do they have? Will they go along with what we have agreed on the timeline? You know, so to me, day of is so hard, because like anything, I've had what they considered a day of coordinator, but I landed up spending at least 3 months with them to prepare. So
it's the truth about day of is it's nice to have an extra set of hands, but then you may be actually coordinating those extra set of hands. Okay, so what I'd like for you to do is to manage those gifts. And when the caterer is ready to, and you're planning again.
Yeah.
It's because you really just have an extra set of hands. A real planner is going to take all of that off your plate and manage those things for you. And as you described, knowing the vendors, knowing the timeline, and where they may have made a mistake in the timeline so that you can fix it, it's not easily done. So I get where it's difficult. Day of. I would never want to do day of.
It's very hard.
And yet, speaking of day of, I just finished a wedding. It's Saturday afternoon and I'm done. So I pulled my van into the driveway. It's got my gear. I'm ready to unload. The phone rings. Corporate client at the Hilton says, our DJ didn't show. Can you do our event? Talk about day of, right?
Yeah, right.
And when I show up, they have a full-on schedule of events, including a Dancing with the Stars theme.
Wow.
And you know what?
You pulled
it. Well, you know I did it. I already had the Dancing with the Stars theme music. I had all I did was I took their list. They gave me their special songs, and we confirmed everything. And I made it appear as though that was the way it was meant to be.
Right.
But to your point, if I did this for them, I could have done that had I been on the ground floor early on. And that's what happens for a planner, of course.
And definitely it's about preparation, because I've had many a client that, wanted the stars. And what I also created in my business was what I call inventory. And my inventory is based on clients that might want a dream, could not afford a dream, but I had it in inventory. So it's not costing me anything extra. I know some people would say you losing money, but not for me. It is to give them something that they're dreamed about, that every little girl dreams about that day. Can you think about the other clients that might have been at a wedding that says, oh my God, it was fabulous. And they'll go, that was my wedding planner. She had it. She said, I'm going to make your dreams come true.
I'm just, overwhelmed with heart here, because it's that whole philosophy behind under promise, over deliver. And that obviously is how you like to do events. And that's why you are the professional, and why I am so pleased you took a few minutes to talk with us today. Thank you, Adrienne.
It's been my pleasure.